Today on The Dead Life, you'll be hearing from a young woman named Andrea. I recently attended a Phoenix Suns basketball game where we met. She had a heavy heart because she had recently lost her mother. She had asked her mother for a sign, which led to our, I believe, orchestrated meeting by her mother. A reading later that week, and this episode. You're going to hear from Andrea about the loss of her mother and our chance meeting. You're also going to hear snippets of our recorded reading from last week. You can follow me on Instagram at Medium Allison, on my Facebook fan page. You can binge on my YouTube videos, and you can see me live in Scottsdale, Arizona on June 18th. Ticket information is on my website at AllisonDubois.com. Andrea, thank you so much for sitting down with me today to talk about your mom.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Well, obviously, our meeting was written in the stars, as they say, because I never go to basketball games. I'm more of a college football fan. And we just happened to be there that night with our friends who happened to go to every game and have the backstage access. So let's start this way. Can you tell my listeners a little about your mom and her passing?
Yeah, so my mom passed away recently on New Year's Eve. And, my mom had been chronically ill like the last 5 years. So it's kind of like, it's leading up to it, but you don't know necessarily when.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say she passed quicker than I think like my family had expected.
Right.
But we also knew at the same time that she was definitely struggling a lot.
Right. I can relate to that. I had a friend, my friend Debbie, had a brain tumor. And you'd think with what I do that when she told me her eyesight went out, that I know that that's a huge, the growth is there, that the tumor's growing. But in my head, I'm like, oh, the doctors have to fix that. Something in your mind thinks you're going to be able to push that death line further away, and they're going to be here, of course, for another year. And you just keep sort of pushing it off in your head. So when they pass, it's sort of a surprise, even though it was expected.
Yeah, and my mom's mind was all here. That was, I think, the hard part. It was her body. Her body just couldn't do it. So you hear someone who's so alert and so there, but her body was just like,
giving out.
Do this.
Right. I'm sorry.
Thank
losing
you.
a parent is excruciating, and you're actually in the raw stage. You're in the very first months, and that's where you're still trying to make sense of it and how the world has less color without them, and you feel, I don't know, like the world's sort of hollow and it just doesn't have as much meaning. I understand, and I get where you're at, and it is a long road in grieving and healing. And for me, I couldn't even see my own dad for 4 years doing what I do. I had to have another medium bring him through for me, and I had to bring her dad through for her. So
I remember you saying that, and it just like clicks with me, and I could understand how that could be, because you're so low and you're trying your best, and everyone else has returned to normal life, and you're like, my life is not normal.
No, you're blocked by pain. The pain is still raw, and 2 weeks after they die, you'll notice the cards and the casseroles stop coming, and all of a sudden people are looking at you like, get back in the game, you're all right. And you're looking at them like, I'm not all right, and this is a process, and they can't understand it if they haven't been through it. So
you're 100% right.
I completely feel for you and understand where you're at. So what do you miss the most about your mom? Because I know that you sent us a picture of her when I had met her years ago, apparently like at a book signing or something.
Yes.
And tell me about her, because I don't really have the recollection, because I've had a lot of book signings. I'm so glad I got to meet her though.
My mom was truly one of a kind. She was energetic, full of life, and her biggest thing was she was a talker. I missed the most. She checked on me every day. She was texting me. She was calling me. If I was at work, she'd send me a picture, which pair of boots do you like more? Hey, I need an answer right now. Hey, are you there? And I'm like, Mom, I'm at work. Like, I can't talk about boots. But like, she was just full of life and always looking to buy me something that would put a smile on my face or just remind her of me. And I miss her conversations. Nighttime has been the hardest for me because that was after work when she would check in, when she knew I was home. And I've noticed like, okay, like I need to keep myself busy at night because I just miss that routine and those conversations, even if they were just about anything from, hey, do you need diet soda? I'm going to do my click list, to just talking and catching up about family and friends and what's going on. I just miss it so much.
Well, and at night, everything's so quiet. You're alone with your thoughts and your pain.
Yeah.
So I get that. Um, can you talk to me a little about the journey that brought you here today? And when did you ask your mom for a sign?
So the beautiful thing that I feel like I got blessed with is I always told my Mom, when you want to let go, I'm going to help you cross. I always promised her that. So in December, when she got out of the hospital for the last time, and like 2 days after we got back home, she started getting sick again. And she said, I don't want to do it anymore. And that's when we called in hospice and really started her passing. And I stayed here at my parents' house in their guest room for 9 days while I gave her medicine and checked on her and just helped her to pass. And in that guest bedroom is the photo of you and my mom. Oh. And I looked at that photo every night when I would get up to give her medicine and go back to bed. And I had that ingrained because my mom was so spiritual. And she's like, Andrea, you have to believe, you have to believe. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying my hardest, but this is new to me. Like, help me. And I had told her, this is new to me. I feel like I'm going to miss things. I need you to do something different. I said, grab my attention. And me meeting you at that Suns game was her going, oh yeah, you weren't sure? Watch this. And it's exactly what she did. And like, I said that to you the moment I was like, I know you. What's your name? Like, I knew that with her.
You're like, you look familiar. I was like,
yes, I know you.
I think that's amazing. Your mom obviously loves you a lot to be able to pull the ultimate card from her sleeve.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so great. Do not underestimate a mother's love. They will move mountains.
She definitely did.
So I love that. That's an amazing sign. Were you surprised that we met? Were you thinking she was going to give you some sort of sign, but not necessarily a person?
You know, I wasn't sure, but the timing of which she did it, where I was mentally in my head, I needed it. And she wouldn't have been able to get me to believe if it wouldn't have been you. So it had to be.
You know what was so strange for me too? I looked at Joe and I said, did you schedule her time? You know, because after I met you, I'm like, I have to read her. I mean, obviously, if your mom went to that trouble, I had to read you.
Right.
And he called you and he hung up and he said, today's her birthday. So you got the call on your birthday from Joe to schedule the reading with your mom. And I think that was her reinforcing, baby, this is me, you know, and making sure that she got to talk to you. Can we talk a little bit about the reading and what resonated with you? Because I loved the reading. I thought it was great. And
so did I.
She mentioned the ring and she kept saying, I want her to have my ring. Like I said, the ring's supposed to go with you. Did she give you her ring? Okay, well, let's listen to our first clip. And then she said she was taking off her ring and she was trying to hand it to you. Did you get your mom's ring when she passed? Because it feels like you were supposed to.
Yep. The moment she passed, it went on my finger.
Okay. So she's acknowledging that connection, that it's a little piece of her that she left for you and that you can feel her when you wear it and it'll keep her close to you. Okay. And what was the story behind the ring?
Her ring is her wedding ring. She wore it all the time. In fact, when she was in the hospital this last time, I actually wanted to take it from her because she was so skinny and frail, it kept falling off. And
Right.
I was like, Mom, you're gonna lose it. And she's like, nope, like when your day comes, you will have it. And we had talked, like, as soon as I pass, you put it on. And it literally was just like that. Like, she passed, we took it off her finger and I put it on.
That's
So, and
beautiful.
I've worn it every day since. Like, it's part of her, and now it's part of me, and it means so much. And I'm not a person who wears jewelry, and now all I want to wear is her jewelry. And I know she would love that.
Absolutely. And they talk about their jewelry a lot. And I find it fascinating in readings because the jewelry absorbs their energy, especially your mom's wedding ring would have been not only symbolic of how much she loves your dad and how her life really started when she met him and created her family. But it sat on your mom's finger that has this sort of vein to her heart and her all those years. And so, of course, it's going to carry the pulse of your mother. And
Yeah.
so you can feel that. There's certain pieces of jewelry. It's called psychometry. When you touch an object and you pull impressions or energy off of it, that's psychometry. And when my dad died, he had a gold nugget pinky ring. He always looked kind of Goodfellas and like, hey, you know, like the leather, Italian leather shoes and just
Yeah.
always dressed up. And so I had his gold nugget ring with a solitaire diamond in the center that was his pinky ring. And I wore it for years. And then finally, I got to this place of healing after my dad passed, and it had been, I don't know, I think it took me 5 or 6 years, but I ended up getting my own
Oh,
pinky
yeah.
ring that's a heart, and it's got my birthstone in the center. And so I wear the girl version of my dad's ring now, in homage to him, just to say, I'm part of you, Dad. So eventually with your mom's ring, you may end up incorporating it into another ring, where it's tied in, another piece of jewelry. And they're good with that. But I find it interesting when people bury them with their wedding rings, they'd actually rather it stay in the family. And so I'm really glad that you got your mom's ring. That's really what she wanted.
Yes, and I am too. And like I said, like she designed this one, like it meant everything to her. And now I can't imagine not seeing it on my finger. Like it's just part of me. So,
right. So someone who is everything to her is wearing the jewelry that was everything to her. And you'll probably take it off when you put your engagement ring on one day, or you'll wear it next to that, on another finger. But, and then, oh gosh, Joe marked some points in the reading that he thought was great. And Hawaii, she had talked about Hawaii being important and a version of heaven and to take out the pictures of Hawaii. Here's another clip from your reading. And then she's talking about Hawaii. Did she go with your dad? Were they going to go to Hawaii? She's referencing Hawaii.
I know my parents went to Hawaii.
Okay, so those are going to be pictures.
That was their honeymoon.
So it's a version of her heaven. So she wants your dad to take those pictures out and kiss them and know that she gets to relive those moments every moment of her life and that he is her heaven. What was Hawaii for her?
Hawaii was my parents' honeymoon. So that's where they went. Yep, right when they were in love and everything was fresh. And I know it meant everything to her. And in fact, being here, my dad put 2 pictures in his bedroom, their wedding picture and a picture of them from the beach. So
I love that.
Yeah, I love that he did that.
How did your dad feel about you having the reading? Did you talk to him about it?
My dad loved it.
Oh, good.
I think I know it helped us all tremendously. After you read me, I sat here and listened to it with my dad. And then I called my brother and was like, would you like to listen to it? And he was like, yes. So then I went and stayed with him and we listened to it.
Oh.
I think the 3 of us have all kind of been trying to grieve together, but you kind of grieve on your own.
Yeah.
So like you can talk about things, but sometimes their good day might be a day where you're off or, vice versa. And I think having this and having these messages and these signs and these things that only we would know, especially from you, someone my mom became very spiritual because of, and just really loved learning and looking for those signs and being more open. I think it's helped all three of us tremendously. So
That's amazing. I'm, I can only take partial credit. This was your mom's doing. And I told you it was so weird the night I met you because I know Luis Gonzalez, who he won the World Series. He was an Arizona Diamondback, and his daughter went to school with my daughter and their friends. And my daughter had just like a day or two before taken pictures of his daughter for her clothing line. And I saw him and I walked over to talk to him. And then I was walking back and I started talking to you because you were there. And I saw this light on you and you looked like you had angel hair. And I just kept looking at you. I'm like, she has angel hair. I was just having like this moment. And so we just started talking. And before I left, I gave you a hug. I mean, you lost your mom. I understand. And I wanted to, give you my condolences.
Right.
So I'm giving you a hug. And I felt like I was hugging my daughter. It was the weirdest thing. And, normally they'll take control of, what I'm going to say or making me feel what they feel. But I just know that that your mom was borrowing my arms for you to hug you because you felt like my daughter. And it was really surreal for me. So that was thank you for that from your mom that was just amazing too. I hadn't experienced that, but maybe once or twice where they sort of take in your physicality so that
and
they
I
can
could see
feel.
my mom doing that.
Yeah.
That's my daughter. We need to go. I need to hug her. And I felt the same thing right away with you. That's why I was like, I know you. I just felt a closeness to you.
Yeah.
Like I had just known you forever.
Yeah. It was
Right
very,
away.
very strange and very orchestrated by your mom, but I'm so glad.
Yes.
And I feel connected to your mom now too, because she trusted me with her family. And I'm honored by that. And as a mother of daughters, I know exactly how much she would miss you and why she tried so hard. So I felt compelled to do the reading. I'm like, I have to do this reading. So
Thank you.
oh, you're so welcome. I mean,
Best.
it was just predestined. The minute she died, that reading was going to happen. I'm just in awe of everything that had to happen in order for that moment to exist. So just incredible. And then she brought up your hair, and we were talking about your hair. Can you share that with the listeners, why that was important?
So hair was important because my mom has terribly thin hair. We both have genetic hair thinning. So I've always had very thin hair, and she, especially being sick towards the end, had like no hair. So hair was always something we both were like, oh, well, we see people with beautiful hair and we were like, oh, I want that. And for the last 2 years for my birthday, she had tried to buy me extensions, but I was always afraid because my hair was so thin and frail, like, oh, I don't want to damage it.
Right.
Of course, my mom passes I'm at the hair salon and they're like, you should try extensions. And I was like, you know what? I think you're right. Let's try it. And so I had just had extensions, like maybe, I don't know, a couple weeks, like just got them in. She went really blonde because I was blonde before, but when you don't have much hair, it's not that like, whoa.
Right.
And so I was like, whoa, that's like really blonde and I have so much hair. But I know my mom would have loved it and would be like, that's you. Like that suits you. That's your look.
Well, much as Joe noticed my red hair, and that's probably why we're married. I had red hair. Your future husband's going to notice the hair like I noticed your hair. And it's funny that you got it in because if you had different hair, I don't know that I would have. It just seemed like you had a spotlight on you and you looked like you had angel hair and I just had to talk to you.
I know. I tell people now at work, like, don't mess with my angel hair. Like,
I love it. Your angel hair. And that is something your mom would say too, because I'm sure you're her angel. So obviously you have angel hair. And so then I remember this part because she made me feel it really intensely, but she kept talking about if she had one more day to spend with you. And I always think it's beautiful when they do this. I think she said she'd want to make pancakes on Sunday or something, and you'd all sit around together and eat pancakes and talk and laugh, and that she would do that with you if she had one more day. Here's another clip from your reading.
She wishes she could have one more day with her family just to make pancakes on a Sunday. Just to
love pancakes.
just to have one more pancake day together. And when you miss her, just go order some pancakes and be like, "Hey, Mom, I ordered your cakes," And so when you go to bed, it'll help you go to sleep if you picture your mom smiling at you making pancakes over the counter while she's cooking.
Yeah.
Why was that significant?
So the crazy part about this, and once again, that's just you talking with my mom. My mom had a feeding tube, so she actually couldn't eat by mouth. Not many foods. The only food she could eat were pancakes.
Oh, wow.
My dad became a pancake king. I was very picky about how they had to be, the syrup, just so that it could go down easy for her and for her body to digest. But pancakes were her thing. So when you said pancakes, all three of us were like, "Oh, that's Mom," because she loved her pancakes because it was the only food she could eat. So that was very significant, and like hands down, like, yep.
They give the most random signs and readings, and I always say I'm a secretary because I don't know what the hell they're talking about. It's just my job to tell you they're the boss and you're the magic. You're why they come through. So when it was pancakes for her, I'm like, oh, that's lovely. And it had this deeper meaning for you and your family. So that's the beauty of a reading. The medium doesn't always know what we're saying. We're just a mouthpiece.
Yeah, no, we absolutely knew when you said pancakes. And she made them growing up before she was sick. Like that was like our Sunday before we would go to temple. Like that's what she would make. So it was just very cool. But the fact that like that was a food that she depended on so much at the end, and you were she was able to tell you that, was like, okay, Mom, I'm gonna make myself some pancakes.
I love that.
Yeah.
She also had said like, sorry about Christmas, or she was sorry about that. What was that about?
So we called hospice on Christmas Eve to come in. That's when she decided I can't do this anymore. So she started to pass and had, the hospital bed set up and everything here on Christmas Eve. So Christmas was rough because it wasn't really Christmas, we're getting ready for my mom to pass, and you're trying to take that all in. And my brother and his family, they still kind of did their thing and made sure to celebrate Christmas with my nephew, who's very young, so that it was normal for him. But for someone like me, it was very different, but I was also okay with it. So it was one of those things where she loved Christmas. She always she had these little snow villages, and she put them everywhere, and she always transformed the house, and Christmas was one of her favorite holidays. So I know she definitely wouldn't want it to have a sad tone to it. So I think that was important why that came through, because I know she felt bad about that.
She'll want you to put all that stuff out next Christmas,
Oh, we will. We keep it up till January, because she always says, keep it up to January.
I love your mom. She's one of those rare, beautiful souls that while they're here recognizes the gifts all around her, and she's just like a child enjoying them all. And that is the best life lived. That is the best anybody can do. So your mom really got it. And I'm glad that you were hers and she is yours, because I know you'll be the same kind of mom as yours. Yeah.
She definitely gave me a lot.
She also, and forgive me because I did a bunch of readings after yours, so I'm going through this. And St. Patrick's Day, she had mentioned St. Patrick's Day. What was so special? I don't even remember the context of how I said that. What did she say?
You had kind of given me a little bit of a heads up for St. Patrick's Day, just to be cautious because of me being a Pisces.
Okay.
My mom was a person who liked to go out a lot. I don't know if there was so much a significance there, but I think it was for me to be cautious being the Pisces.
Well, it was a full moon in Virgo, so you were in a physical opposition for 2 days, and I wanted to make sure you took your vitamin C, and
I did. I started to get sick.
you did.
So I'm just starting to get over just like whatever, like a head cold.
The yuck. Yeah, I get it. So it's usually in a physical opposition, you'll either get sick or Pisces is really accident prone. Can be a car accident. They can trip over their feet, like whatever, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So with your dad, I know that she talked about him and how he was her life. What about the reading do you think helped him the most? When did he know it was her?
I think there was a couple things. I remember talking to you. Actually, I was sitting here, and he was on the couch, and a couple times I'd look over and he was crying. But I think listening to it with him, the fact that you touched on you did everything right,
Yeah.
and she understands because my dad was her caretaker. He was an engineer for 30 years, worked his butt off, retired early to take care of her. And when I say take care of her, my mom was in a wheelchair. She had a feeding tube. Like she was 24/7 care. He had to help her get in and out of bed. And I looked at them and I just thought like, wow, like they're so in love, and you just don't see that type of like literally through sickness and health and death do you part. And my dad stood by her side and took care of her, and it didn't matter if she was deteriorating. Like he fought for her when the hospitals would kind of push her off when she'd go in, and he's amazing. And I know that being a caretaker like that, you question some of the things at the end that you have to decide. So I think you really touching on that and being able to bring up Hawaii and their honeymoon, and that her dad was there to help her cross over, because he definitely would have been like, no, that's my baby. Like, come on, Esther. So like, I know for sure, like those things were like helpful for him, and they meant everything to him. Cause he's
so glad.
Yeah.
Your poor dad has got to, I mean, just think he laid next to your mom every night for all those years, and then all of a sudden that person's gone.
Right. And you had touched on him smelling her pillow, and I said, do you smell her pillow? And he's like, yeah, I did. And I did the other night. And I was like, okay. He's like, I just wanted to see if, if I could still smell her. And I do the same thing. I have her blanket, and I still smell that. I'm like,
Here's another clip from your reading.
And then she says she rides with your dad too. She worries about him so much. She says he's so lonely. She says she's showing him holding her pillow. So when he's in bed, he holds onto her pillow and smells it. And she says same with her shirts. They were such a part of each other. She says a true love story.
It's normal to do that. It's funny though, because I see the dead's perspective, and I bring them through all the time, and they're like, don't sniff the buttons off my shirt, or, stay on your side of the bed, like jokingly, because the person will sleep, on the other side of the bed all of a sudden where their partner used to sleep. And so I think it's funny that they come through playfully talking about, seeing the things that we do for them. So I know a lot of people who are grieving ask, do they hear me? Do they see what I do for them? They do. But they want you to be doing it with less of a heavy heart and more of a lightness about you, that they were part of your life. A recognition that they were lucky to have you as long as they had you, and you were lucky to have them as long as you had them. And when you die, that you'll pick up where you left off with your mom, and she'll be healthy and young, and you will never have to say goodbye again if you don't want to. You can always be in each other's space. And I just think it's really interesting with their perspective and how they grieve too. And I don't think people get this. They say, why would they be sad? They're in heaven. They're around everyone they lost. I'm like, well, now they've lost you in a sense though. And they lost their physical life. So they're waiting for you to cross, so their heaven's complete. So even though they're in this beautiful place that is every happy memory ever that they felt, and every bit of love you ever gave them, they took with them. Even though they're in that place, they want to stay here. And it's not that you're holding them here, that somehow your grief is, tethering them to the physical plane. It's not like that. They want to be here. We're their heaven. And so you're going to hear knocks in the wall at your house, and they make floors creak and the lights go on and off, and they make dogs go crazy, and the dog will look at you like, "Don't you see him?" and they'll look at a space where there's nobody physically there and look back at you. And
my dog's already done that a couple times. He'll like look to one corner of the ceiling. I'm like, "What do you see?" Like,
right.
And I'll say like, "Hey mom, like I know you're here."
Yeah. And she's looking at your dog, trying to get it to make noise to get your attention. So your mom's figuring out how to get your attention, but she did great. I think she must have had a little help from somebody that had been there longer, that's like, this is what you need to do.
Yeah. I feel like I always, when I try to explain, I'm like, I'm sure there was a line of people waiting in line for Allison, but if you knew my mom, she would have been run to the front and been like,
yeah,
I'm sorry about this, but my daughter's there, so excuse me.
She's like, excuse me.
Yeah. I have to do this.
They probably loved her so much they just let her go first.
Yeah.
So that's so great. So she's a bright light. And with your brother, was there anything in particular that he was looking for, or that you think he needed in order to move forward?
I feel so the hard part about this is I feel like since my mom's passed, the two of us, besides maybe one or two conversations, haven't really talked about it. A couple times I've said how I feel, like I'm having a rough day. But as an outsider listening to what you had to say, I feel like it was spot on.
Yeah.
When he listened to it, he said that, yes, there was a lot of stuff in there that was like validation and things he could relate to. But he didn't really talk much about any one thing. But he did, like I saw him laugh, especially when he brought up the 80s music, because he's like, oh, she loved 80s music before he said that. And I'm sure to some extent,
he took it in. He's a male. They grieve differently than we do. We want to talk about it and relate to one another. And most men tend to hold it inside. And obviously it can affect their physical health when they do that. But they feel like they're supposed to be able to save people, that they should have been able to keep her here longer. And he probably feels some of that, even though it's not rational. Like, what are we going to do? I knew my dad was going to die at 67 of a heart attack. I sent him to all the heart specialists. He had no heart problems. They said he looked great. He was a professional ballroom dancer for 50 years, and he died of a heart attack at 67, just like I said he would. And so if you ever get to have that conversation with your brother, please tell him, if he knew 20 years ago and could stop the cancer or whatever was happening to her from getting to her, if it's written in their story, you can't stop it, not even if you know. And I really like to tell people that, so that they don't carry that guilt around of, did she know I loved her? Well, yeah, they know. They often will say, take out the Mother's Day cards. Take those out and read those on Mother's Day, and look at how loved you made me feel all those years. And they'll talk about their kids when they were little, drawing them, crafts and pictures and happy Mother's Day cards, and making them feel special and beautiful and loved, because little kids say awesome things like, you smell good, Mom, like things like that. And we make their lives worth living. So to them, and their family becomes everything to them. And I think your mom did make a reference to that her family was everything in the beginning. And so she's that mom. You got that mom. So you can high five your spiritual mom and be like, I'm so lucky I got to walk that path. And you get to carry the torch, and you'll hand it off to your daughter, whose middle name will be your mom's. And you'll know that your mom sent you a little piece of herself back.
Oh, for sure. I know that without a doubt now.
I love that your mom talked about how she's going to bring you the guy too.
I do too, because I know how bad she wanted to be here. and she kind of had mentioned, like, towards the end, like, I'm probably not going to be here to meet him and for your wedding. And, that is a hard part to grasp.
Yeah.
There's a lot my mom is going to miss, and you kind of, it can take you on a roller coaster ride. And so it makes me excited to know she's going to put someone in my path and make it happen, because,
Well, and if your mom could get me to you, she's going to be able to get a guy to you. It's not going to be hard. So she'll probably put a spotlight on your hair, and he'll be like, oh my gosh, I have to go talk to that beautiful girl. And he'll saunter over, and it'll be history. So, I'm excited for you. She needed you to know that you are going to have that life, so that you didn't worry about the lostness that you feel stumbling through day to day, wondering if your person's out there, if you're going to be a mother, what life's going to look like. And she was just trying to say, you're going to have that picture of a life. Don't worry. Just enjoy the now, right? Enjoy the now. You should be in bathing suits, taking pictures of yourself on the beach in Cabo, having a good time, doing something, and being young. Just be young and take a million pictures. Oh God, I wish I had more pictures of me in bathing suits. Just from an older woman to a younger woman. That's something you want to do. And she also said your husband's going to be extremely good looking. Which I think made you happy. I'd be hanging out at hockey games instead of basketball games, because you won't be able to see them and look them in the eye. But the hockey players, you got a chance.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Well, Andrea, thank you for sharing your heartfelt story with us, and for sharing your special mom with us too.
Of course, thank you.
It was an honor. Honestly, it was an honor. I'm so glad, and I hope you keep in touch with me.
I am.
And so, because I want to go to that wedding and watch that happen, and save a seat for your mom and do all that stuff, so that she's there. And well, until next week on The Dead Life, I'm Allison Dubois. Thank you for tuning in, and to all of my believers out there, don't stop believing.